One thing I love about pretty much any game or game franchise is often at times attention to detail the developers have put into their games. I'm a huge fan of secret details and Easter eggs, and whenever I dive into a new game, I do try my best to look for every little detail and piece of environmental storytelling I can uncover. So we're back. Let's take a look at 10 secret details and things you might have missed in the Assassin's Creed franchise. Check out the full playlist to see similar videos for Assassin's Creed, and do remember you can comment below a secret detail, an Easter egg or a reference or anything similar, and I'll try my best to feature it in the next part of this series. If you do enjoy this video, do consider hitting that subscribe button. We recently passed 80,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. The road to 100k is well and truly on. If you watch my videos and are not subscribed, what on earth are you doing? You can also consider becoming a member of my Patreon for exclusive benefits. The link to that will be down below. With that said, let's get right into the video. As you probably know, the main antagonists in Assassin's Creed Odyssey are the Cult of Cosmos, a secretive group that worships a deity called Cosmos. Now don't worry, I will not be spoiling any major story details or revealing the identities of some cultist members. Now if you've seen the Cult of Cosmos members, you'll know that they wear very distinctive masks. As you progress through the game, you systematically take down these cult members one by one. Well, did you know, the more cultist members that you take out, the more cultist masks start showing up on the loading screen. It's a detail that is very subtle at first, but as you take out more members of the Cult of Cosmos, those eerie masks begin to pile up on the floor around the pyramid artifact. It's a brilliant way to make the loading screen more dynamic, and it gives you a constant reminder of your in-game progress. What's quite surprising is how many people completely missed this feature. I know I did on my first playthrough. It's very easy to overlook when you're scrolling through tips or distracted by something else whilst waiting for the game to load. But once you notice it, it's hard not to appreciate the detail that went into it. It's just one of those hidden touches that show how much care the developers put into even the smallest parts of the game. I also like how these masks are not just randomly placed on the floor either, as they mirror the exact positions of the cult members on the Cult of Cosmos tree in the menu. This interesting detail is one that requires a little bit of brain power to put together, but still it's a very interesting secret detail that pays homage to the original Assassin's Creed game from 2007. So this one comes from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. A relatively subtle reference to Assassin's Creed 1 in Valhalla comes from the cities and targets that you encounter throughout the game. In Valhalla, at one point you explore 3 main cities: York, London and Winchester. If that setup rings a bell, it should. These cities parallel the 3 cities from the first Assassin's Creed: Acre, Damascus and Jerusalem. Now hear me out, it's not the number of cities that are similar, it goes much deeper. In both Assassin's Creed 1 and Valhalla, each of the cities is preyed upon by a set of corrupt individuals, and their schemes are surprisingly similar. For example, in both London and Acre, you'll find a mad doctor, a military trainer, and a naval commander pulling the strings. Likewise in York and Damascus, you'll encounter a religious zealot burning books, a mass poisoner, and also a corrupt official controlling the local market. Finally, Winchester and Jerusalem feature a recruiter, an overzealous judge carrying out executions, and also a high-ranking leader who fakes a funeral to set a trap. In fact, here's an image that was created by r_hexagon on Reddit to give you a better understanding. Now these parallels are not just random coincidences. Darby McDevitt himself even confirmed that they are deliberate homages to the original Assassin's Creed. For longtime fans of the series, noticing these connections definitely gives you that feeling of nostalgia and recognition. Even the assassination setup shares similar vibes, like climbing through environments that mirror those from the first game, and also assassinating targets in familiar ways. It's almost as if these parts of Valhalla specifically want you to take a trip back to the roots of the franchise while still maintaining that big open world Viking theme. Let's divert away for a few minutes from the newer Assassin's Creed games and talk about the older ones. This pretty neat detail comes from Assassin's Creed 3, and to be honest, I do feel like quite a fair amount of people would know about this one, but it's still worth including in this video. So in Assassin's Creed 3, and I think also Assassin's Creed Rogue, although I could be mistaken, there's a fun little secret involving fainting goats. If you're out exploring the countryside and you come across goats, try firing a weapon near them. Instead of them running away like most animals do, these goats will actually faint and fall over dramatically. It's a small but hilarious detail that's very easy to miss if you're not paying attention. Now, if you don't know what this is based off, well, in real life, this is a reference to a real phenomenon known as fainting goats. These goats have a genetic condition called myotonia congenita, which causes their muscles to stiffen when they're startled, making them fall over temporarily. The goats do not actually lose consciousness, but the stiffening of their muscles creates the illusion of fainting, which can look pretty amusing, but kind of sad as well. Wouldn't this make them more vulnerable against predators? Also, if you remember around the time Assassin's Assassin's Creed 3 was released, there were fainting goat videos that were popular online around the time these games were released. So yeah, next time you're roaming the frontier in Assassin's Creed 3, keep an eye out for these fainting goats. Vlad the Impaler, also known as Vlad III, was a 15th century ruler of Wallachia, now part of modern-day Romania. Famous for his brutal methods such as impaling his enemies on stakes, Vlad earned a fearsome reputation across Europe. His historical legacy as a bloodthirsty ruler later inspired the legend of Count Dracula, a mythical vampire, and cemented his place in folklore as a figure associated with darkness and terror. You might be wondering why I just gave you a history lesson on this figure. Well, in Assassin's Creed, Vlad the Impaler appears as a secret member of the Templar Order, but that's not the secret detail here. His storyline in Assassin's Creed Revelations focuses on his imprisonment and death at the hands of the Ottoman assassins, led by Ishak Pasha. Following his capture, Vlad was executed, and his decapitated head was taken as a trophy by the Ottomans. His remains were sealed in a secret tomb, which Ezio Auditore later explored. One of the secret details during this quest, known as the Impaler's Tomb, is the discovery of Vlad's skull in his sarcophagus. Now blink and you might miss it, but if you look very closely, you'll notice that the skull has long sharp fangs, hinting at the vampiric legends surrounding Vlad's legacy. This small detail is a nod to the real-life myths that depict Vlad as a vampire, and it reinforces the connection between the historical figure and the Dracula stories that followed. This one might be a bit of a reach, but I don't think so at the same time. So we're all aware of Shaun Hastings, right? He's been in the modern day of Assassin's Creed since the second game, and is still ongoing, surprisingly. Well, in Assassin's Creed Black Flag's modern day, we can quite evidently see that Shaun Hastings is there, and is working at an espresso bar at Abstergo Industries. But what if I told you him being there was actually foreshadowed way back in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood 3 years ago from Black Flag's release? Take a look for yourself at this conversation from a modern day cutscene in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
You'll get to see it once we have the apple.
Well, I expect amazing things. A private espresso bar, for example.
What a waste of money.
You obviously aren't an espresso drinker.
So yeah, what do you think? Is this one a reach? Or did Brotherhood genuinely foreshadow Shaun Hastings working at an espresso bar 3 years later in Black Flag? Maybe not at Abstergo Industries, but still an espresso bar nonetheless. One of the more random and mysterious secrets in Assassin's Creed Black Flag can be found at the Punta Guarico fort. So after you capture the fort, if you explore the area and approach a well covered with a grate, you might hear voices echoing from below. These voices seem to be trapped prisoners, or slaves, or maybe even ghosts, saying things like, "Isn't anyone going to help us?" or "They're just going to leave us here, aren't they?"
Isn't anybody going to help me?
They're just going to leave us here, aren't they?
Now, while you cannot actually interact with the well or free the people supposedly trapped below, the mysterious nature of the voice leaves a haunting impression. You can also randomly hear these voices before capturing the fort, though the content of what is said changes slightly. During the capture of the fort, the voice you hear is from a British man who seems to have gone mad, rambling about things like a pet rat's birthday and his distaste for the loud balls thrown by the governor. This secret isn't just a random detail as well, it's also kind of a fun nod to the previous Assassin's Creed games in a way, because one of the voices, funnily enough, is voiced by Roger Craig Smith, the voice actor for Ezio Auditore. I'm sure anyone who played Assassin's Creed Unity would know the relationship between Elise de la Serre and Arnaud Dorian was undeniably hit and miss, both emotionally and circumstantially. While they shared a deep bond that stretched back to childhood, their love faced countless obstacles such as time apart and also the opposing factions they belonged to. Their story, captured both in the game and even in the novels, explores their relationship with many different themes. One of the most controversial aspects of their relationship is found in the Assassin's Creed Unity novel, where Elise de la Serre is depicted as having a very brief affair with a smuggler named Byron Jackson. During one of her trips abroad, Elise de la Serre and Byron spent a night together after sharing a drink while sailing from Calais to Dover. Elise deeply regretted what she did, and ultimately chose to keep this secret from Arnaud, believing that it strengthened her love for him. In her mind, the overwhelming guilt confirmed that Arnaud was the only man she truly wanted. This depiction of Elise's unfaithfulness, however, has kind of caused some kind of debate among fans on social media, especially due to its inconsistency across different variations of the novel. In some versions of the Assassin's Creed Unity novel, this affair is entirely removed, leading many to question its legitimacy as canon. The critics of this subplot argue that it tarnishes the purity of Elise and Arnaud's love, which is pretty much central to the story of Unity, while Elise's decision to not not tell Anna reflects her own complicated emotions, it kind of also raises the question about whether such a betrayal, however brief, can truly strengthen a relationship. So yeah, whether it strengthens or weakens her relationship with Anna remains subjective, with different interpretations leaving room for reflection on love, loyalty and human error. In other words, she's for the streets. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in a previous video that Doctor Who is a show that I really enjoyed, or more accurately, used to enjoy. Anything after Peter Capaldi I couldn't care less about, but there are two things from Doctor Who that everyone familiar with the show would instantly recognize: the sonic screwdriver and the iconic Tardis, a time machine that's disguised as an ordinary phone box. Well, did you know the Tardis from Doctor Who is actually hidden away in Assassin's Creed Origins? So if you head to the east side of Letopolis, dive into the water and explore the murky depths of the Sapir-esque gnome, you'll stumble upon what's unmistakably the Doctor's iconic time machine, submerged beneath the riverbed. It's an Easter egg that's sure to make any Doctor Who fan geek out, and no comment if I got geeked out. What's kind of fun about this Tardis Easter egg is how well it blends into the world of Origins. Ubisoft didn't just plop a standard police box underwater, they gave it an ancient stony texture, so it does feel like it's been there for centuries, almost as if it's a relic from a distant past. The level of detail here is hilarious too. If you look closely, you'll even spot a pair of legs sticking out from the door, as though someone was desperately trying to escape before getting stuck. Of course, it does raise some amusing questions. Who was this person? Did they somehow try to jump inside the TARDIS and get trapped? We know from Doctor Who that the TARDIS is sentient, so there's no way it would have just landed on somebody by accident. Remember right at the start of Assassin's Creed Origins, we saw that goosebump-worthy cutscene where Bayek confronts Rudjek, gives a very beautiful speech and then proceeds to stab him in the face with a mask that has a knife in it. Well, what a lot of people might not realize is that later in the game, there is a hidden side quest named First Blood, which I assume is in reference to the first kill Bayek did in his quest for avenging Kemu. And this side quest lets you revisit the exact moment the cutscene happened where Bayek killed the first member of the Order of Ancients, aka Rudjek. So at this location on the map, hidden away in the bent pyramid, you'd first have to figure out how to get inside, because it's a little tricky. Upon returning to the site, Bayek notices things are not as he left them. He discovers a mysterious shrine, some candles, and also offerings, suggesting that someone has been visiting and paying their respects to Rudjek. As you explore further, you'll come across an arrow on the ground, the same arrow Bayek used to cross out Rudjek's name on his list. Bayek remarks on the significance of this arrow, remembering how it marked the start of his quest. The most noticeable discovery, however, is Rudjek's mask. Bayek finds it lying in a corner, where the knife he used to stab Rudjek is still buried inside of it. It's a reminder of the violent end that Rudjek met. What's particularly strange is that someone has mummified a heron and placed it alongside Rudjek's tomb, symbolizing his namesake and perhaps a belief in Rudjek's resurrection in the afterlife. Interestingly, the quest has two possible outcomes, depending on whether you've already met Sophia, who is Rudjek's lover. If Bayek is unaware of Sophia, he's left wondering who would care enough to bury Rudjek with such respect. However, if he knows about Sophia, the mystery is solved. She buried Rudjek out of love, honoring him despite his actions. As Bayek pieces the mystery of who reburied Rudjek, he acknowledges that his own judgment day will come, but with no regrets. He knows his actions were justified, and from there the hidden side quest ends with Bayek leaving the tomb, reflecting on the beginning of his journey and the darkness that followed. For this one, I will not spoil anything that happens in Assassin's Creed Liberation towards the end, but I do want to focus on the credit scene when the story finishes, so this secret within the game's credits is quite easy to miss, especially if you're not paying attention. The game's credits, which roll after the player reaches the end, contains a clever twist in line with the Assassin's Creed franchise's theme of conspiracy. At first glance, the credits seem like a standard list of developers who worked on the game. However, if you look closer, you'll spot that the names are actually in fact Abstergo employees very secretly mixed in with the actual Ubisoft developers. It's a pretty clever secret that plays into the idea that Liberation is a product of Abstergo Entertainment, a fictional company within the game's universe known for manipulating historical events and stories. These employees, though fictional, are treated like real people, with job titles and roles in Abstergo's production of the game's narrative. Breaking down these names, we can see Alan Rickon, who in Assassin's Creed lore was the CEO of Abstergo Industries, and also Grand Master and Guardian within the inner sanctum of the Templar Order. There's Thomas Fournier, whose name is disguised as Jean-Pierre Fournier, who is a paid actor hired by Abstergo to play the role of an engineer. There's Dr. Alvaro Gramatica, who is a director of Abstergo Industries, and also a member of the Inner Sanctum. There's also Isabel Ardent, who is head of historical research at Abstergo, and of course a member of the Inner Sanctum. Steve Gherkin, which funnily enough was also a paid actor hired by Abstergo just to play the role of being an engineer. Stacey French, another paid actor hired by Abstergo to play the role of a designer. Suzuki Fumito, another paid actor by Abstergo to play the role of an engineer. And last but not least, the most recognizable name on this list is Warren Vidic, who needs no introduction. mention. This is also kind of an amusing secret as it goes back to that whole funny reference where Abstergo is Ubisoft, and in recent times it does seem like it. So there we have it. Those are 10 secret details that you might have missed in Assassin's Creed. Feel free to comment below on secret details or an Easter egg or anything of that similarity, and I'll be sure to feature it in the next episode of this series. Just make sure that it's not something that half of Assassin's Creed fans know of. As always, shout out to the members of my Patreon. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one.